Hello again. At this point in the program, you must realize that many of these entrepreneurs are tackling very difficult problems. The last entrepreneur, of course, trying to make our lives all more healthy. And earlier we saw Dribble It, which is trying to make water management more efficient and productive. Our next entrepreneur, John Meinecke, is trying to make power more efficient. And he has a machine that he is developing with his company that converts AC power to DC power. John spent an entire day with Joe and Troy trying to explain how his machine works. As part of this day, he even shared his complete secret sauce of exactly how the machine works. And as far as we can tell after John going through this, it still remains a complete secret. So we had to reach out to our network to see if what John was telling us was even remotely possible. And everyone that we talked to and everyone we interacted with, including very prestigious people that are in the industry that he's trying to serve, were not only believing that this is something that can be done, but we're absolutely excited and very much interested in working with John. Please welcome our next entrepreneur, John Meinecke.
Hi, I'm John Meinecke, co-founder of Edison DC Systems. We power hyperscale data centers. When you think about a hyperscale data center, what is it? It's a building with thousands of computers inside. And what do every single one of those computers do? It runs on DC, ultimately. And why do they run on DC? Because that's what the microprocessor needs. Those microprocessors are fed from an AC system that was created ultimately in the 1800s. And when you look at this, you're saying to yourself, back in the 1800s, there was a discussion, well, just a little discussion, between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. They called it the War of the Currents. What that was, it was a competition between alternating current and direct current. And unfortunately, at that point, Thomas Edison lost because the technology did not exist to safely, efficiently, and reliably harness direct current. So what I'm here today to do is to talk about data centers that are the single biggest users of direct current in the United States. They have a utility bill of over $40 billion as we look out into the US market. So how do we help them save money? So by helping them save money, they want a system that's safe, reliable, and efficient. Those safe, reliable, and efficient systems are really the criteria that every single manager uses when they want to determine what their next purchase decision is. So what I'm going to talk about first is how we're more efficient from our AC to DC system than anybody else on the market. What I'm introducing today is a 100 kilowatt AC to DC uninterruptible power system. Simply put, it provides the server or the power system in the data center the power it needs, the way it needs it, at the voltage it requires. So it eliminates conversions out of the system. It eliminates things that are redundant. So it makes it much more efficient. You know, how much more efficient can that possibly be? It's 20% more efficient when we look at all the numbers. And when you have a data center that's running at a 70% efficiency point, wouldn't you love to have that system running at a 90% efficiency point? All of a sudden that becomes tremendously compelling for people who are ultimately looking at the dollars and cents of the entire situation. So, you know, I'd like to introduce a little company called Rackspace. Last year, they had $87 million in net income. So you're thinking, okay, $87 million net income is pretty nice. Well, you spent $27 million of that on power. So all of a sudden, if you save them 20% on their power bill, what does that really mean to them? Because it's $5 million. It's not much, but that's $50 million over the next 10 years. And additionally, when you look at that in terms of their market capitalization, because they're a 50 times price to earnings company, that's $250 million of their market cap. That's what it would increase by increasing their net income by $5 million. So it's a tremendously compelling discussion for them to work with. And that's why they're one of the companies that we've been talking to and engaging in substantive discussions or purchase agreements and other things. So I've briefly touched on the efficiency aspect of this. How do we make this safe? We make this safe through our patent. And we have a provisional patent around a power conversion system with controlled neutral. Now I'd love to spend the next hour talking about why it's safe and why it's safe and what makes it safe, but I've been asked by Generator not to go there. But suffice it to say, we've spent a lot of engineering hours determining what makes it safe, why it is safe, and what we do better than anybody else on the market. So we talked about efficiency, we talked about safety. How do you make a system more reliable? Because the systems right now are pretty reliable as they are. But now all of a sudden, if you start eliminating equipment out of the overall data center, the data center reliability goes up because you have less stuff to break. So, I spent a lot of time as a DoD contractor designing a little ship. It's called the DDG 1000. It's actually going to get christened on April 12th in Bath, Maine Harbor. That ship has a 40 megawatt DC plant on board. I was a project manager who won the bid for that contract, and also I became the systems engineer that supported the loads for that ship. So I'd go out and talk to those people as I'll call it the power company for the ship, and determining what they needed. And in doing that, gained an incredibly deep understanding of what is necessary to interface all these various systems. And that knowledge and experience is what enables us to drive forward the very safe, very reliable, and very efficient system into the data center market. My co-founder, Mitch Nelson, has worked in business development and sales for such companies as Rackable Systems and Silicon Graphics and Cirruscale in the infrastructure side of the data center market. So essentially selling into the cloud service providers that you see today, like Rackspace and others. And also helping grow their business in places like Asia and China specifically. So the interesting thing for us is we've seen incredible market traction. Everybody on this page, we are either in initial discussions, in very substantive discussions about purchase agreements, beta testing, pilots, and other things as we work through the sales channel. But the interesting thing is that this is only representative of one trade show. It's the Open Compute show that we attended in January. And it was such an incredible interest and incredibly exciting for us to have people standing there saying, I need that. I need to be more efficient in what I do. Because if I'm not more efficient, I can't increase my margins and make my board of directors happy. So that's why these companies are interested in using our systems. And I'd like to introduce today, actually we do have a memorandum or a letter of intent from Starline DC Systems to pilot one of our systems at a large data center on the East Coast. So it's really an exciting opportunity for us to be able to generate revenue into the organization and a nice sale going along with it. So, and thinking about this, you say, okay, it's a data center. What does that mean? It's not just a place where you keep your cat video and you watch your cat videos coming off of the streaming video. So what does that mean? Because when data centers are in operation, they go through phases, almost like life cycles. What they do is they have an initial phase, and then they have a secondary phase, and usually a third phase. And they go through a technology refresh. So they basically tear most of it out and put a lot of it back in. And that's where we come into the equation with a lot of these systems, because we can retrofit into existing data center opportunities. But a 7.2 megawatt data center, that's not very big. It's only it's probably 30, 40,000 square feet. There are literally hundreds of these around the United States. That's a $25 million opportunity for us at a 50% gross margin. So it's very exciting for us as we press forward into the market, being able to deliver high margin equipment into an organization that is ultimately heavily capital intensive and ultimately is budgeted for that $25 million already, because they have to retrofit it. They have to make their systems more efficient, otherwise they go out of business. So this money's already spent in their eyes. They can put in an AC system and get nothing for it, or they can put in a DC system and save 20% of their power. It becomes a fairly easy discussion to have with a lot of these people. So, I'd really like, to stress today that, Thomas Edison was ultimately right in this discussion, but the technology and the capability was not there to harness and control DC currents in a safe, efficient, and reliable manner. What I'm asking for is for you to help me to do that today. And let's help Thomas Edison win the war of the currents once and for all. Thank you so much. Love to talk with you afterwards at our booth. Thank you. Good night.